Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Sorry I'm late. I had a doctor's appointment that went on a little too long. Televisited. Let me mute this real quick. So I collect old 16 millimeter films and show them to folks like you. And we've been doing these lunchtime screenings, rounding out almost 12 weeks. Tomorrow will be 12 weeks. But today, have a variety of different things to show you. And the thing I just showed you is a bit of an anomaly. We're not quite sure what it is. We have some guesses, but also there's some weird stuff that kind of makes me wonder. So in theory, these were outtakes from a commercial, TV commercial for an 8-track compilation. Super sounds of the 70s. There's no sound. The sound was recorded separately. So this is just raw footage that was shot and to be edited. But the songs a lot of them are not from the 70s. And it's a weird mix, man. You have Let It Be, then you have Strangers in the Night. And then Johnny Angel. So it's like all over the place. My feeling about this is I think that this was a class project. I think that somewhere that they taught filmmaking, they had a class project to make a commercial. And this is the commercial they made, and they used the tools. Just because it's so weird. Like, it's a very, very strange thing. And then the black scrolling text, they would do a superimposition. It just doesn't feel right. You don't see a brand name. There's not a superimposition at any point for a phone number. I just don't know. I mean, it could be that it was a wildly, poorly put together compilation. Like somebody was like, we managed to license all these different things. We're going to put them together. We're going to sell these. And so that's possibly what this was. But I don't know. There's no information on the can. I kind of did some Googling to see if I could find an example of the 8-track existing out in the wild, but I haven't found it. It's a very generic name. And plus, it's 1973, so it doesn't really capture the super sounds of the 70s in any way, shape, or form. But this is why I collect films, is I like to show them because some of these are just mysteries. They don't really make sense. I don't understand what the point of them was, and so I get to guess, and I get to show them to you guys, and you get to guess. But I also show educational films and films that do have a pretty well-established reason why they exist. And this next film is a cornet film. It was shot shown in Kodachrome, so the color is beautiful. And this is kind of a fairy tale about 3 wishes. So enjoy.
Once upon a time, John MacIver and his wife Catherine lived in a little cottage. Every morning, John came out and fed the chickens. Here, chick, 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 here, chick, 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 chick. And then he washed his face. Just then, Catherine called to John, breakfast and chores to be done. She felt that John was a little lazy, and that was the reason why they were so poor. Well, perhaps he was a little forgetful sometimes. So Catherine had to remind him, oh, that there was work to be done. Meanwhile, not far away, two gnomes, two funny little forest people, were having a contest. Who could stamp the deepest hole in the ground? A round hole or a square one? A deep one. So first, Thistle Whistle tried. He tried again. That's not so deep. And again. Now watch me, said Galmus. Now watch me. John said goodbye to Catherine and told her that he would, he'd do something to make a lot of money. But he really didn't know just what. Out in the woods, John heard funny noises. He looked, and he ran. Well, of course, it was the gnomes. Galmus had stamped so hard he had disappeared into the ground. Both the little gnomes were helpless. Oh, that's funny, said John. If I help you, will you give me gold, he asked. Oh, more than that. We'll give you 3 wishes. 3 wishes? For anything I like? Oh, wonderful. Oh, boy, so with great joy, John helped them out and rushed home to tell Catherine. Catherine, we'll be rich, Catherine, oh, Catherine. Oh, poor Catherine. Stuck in the ground, gnomes, forest, stuck, I help, oh dear. Now sit down, John, said Catherine. Oh, and she prayed that John was not out of his mind. Now be calm, have some supper, have something, oh, just anything, but be calm. Catherine, I helped some gnomes in the forest and they granted me 3 wishes. 3 wishes? When Catherine finally realized what had happened, she began planning how they would use the wishes. Oh, she would have a castle and a coach and rings and diamonds and beautiful clothes and hundreds of servants, and kings and queens would come to visit them. And I'll have a magic axe, cried John, a magic axe. Oh, that's silly, said Catherine, and she grabbed a broom and chased him across the room. John was frightened, and he begged her to be quiet. Oh, he begged her to be quiet, and then he took the broom away from her. And Catherine began to cry. Poor John, he didn't know what to do. Oh dear, our supper, it's burning, it's burning. Oh dear, look, they're all burned. Well, never mind, said Catherine. With a little scraping, the pancakes will be as good as new. Wish I had some sausages. Oh, sausages. Now you wasted one of our wishes, John. Oh, I wish they'd stuck to your nose. Oh. What'll we do now? A tinker entered and told them he would mend their pots and pans, sweep the chimney, clean the hearth, and... Sausages? On his nose? And when the tinker learned that the sausages wouldn't come off, he laughed and he rushed out to tell all the townspeople. dear, what do we do now? Well, pretend it's something you're wearing, said Catherine. That's it, like that. And a friar came to sympathize with... Oh, just everyone was being told the news. Sausages stuck to his nose. Sausages stuck to his nose. After the alchemist arrived, the physician examined John's nose. Huh? Perfectly sound. Then the butcher made a test. Sausages are good. The alchemist said, cut it off. But Catherine objected. No, 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 they said just the sausages. So the physician raised his arm. Wham! My nose feels lighter. One sausage is off. Wham! 2 sausages are off. Then a very odd thing happened. The sausages grew back on, more and more, until they were down over the edge of the table and onto the floor. Let's pull them off, cried the butcher. So they all tugged and heaved, but the sausages grew longer and longer. Oh, John, I wish the sausages off. Ah, hooray, hooray. Of course, John's nose was a little bit longer. Everyone sang and danced, and John and Catherine lived happily ever after.
Give you a little bit of time to mull that over. Yeah, so school film, and you'd show it in language arts class, elementary school, and the idea is to promote discussion. Kids watch the film, then at the end, the teacher asks questions about, what do you think they did wrong? And what do you think about the characters? And if you had 3 wishes, what would you wish for? And, it's just basically it's to encourage critical thinking and to kind of think about what you just saw and then respond to it and, use your mind to process what you've just seen. It's, adults have problems with that because they already have processed that. And so the comments show plenty of processing of what they're seeing image-wise. But kids, they have to kind of learn and exercise those parts of their brain and do it in ways that, writing and drawing and talking and things like that. All right, so this next film is not made for school kids. In fact, I think it's a promotional film for an industry, and so I got this from a school system, but this probably was made as a promotional film, maybe meant to be shown at an industry trade show or shown at civic groups and ladies groups and, maybe in home ec and whatever. But it's interesting. It talks about the concept of the mass-produced clothing, specifically a dress. It's called the $20 Miracle. And it's an interesting way to think about like how we used to make clothes and how we used to get clothes versus now, in the transition and what has changed. So here's $20 Miracle.
The world of fashion was once the exclusive domain of a privileged handful who could afford the luxury of handmade clothes and the caprices of taste that could overnight make a wardrobe obsolete. Annually, its best dressed were carefully counted out on the fingers of 2 hands. But the picture's changed. democracy has triumphed, and among the inalienable rights of 60-odd million American women today is the right to be well-dressed. In pursuit of this ideal, they spend annually $16 billion on their wardrobes, and each hangs 4 1/2 new dresses in her closet. Today, she is, without question, the best dressed and most dressed woman in the world. Her sensible, casual approach to fashion and her vitamin-fortified good looks are envied, admired, and copied the world over. But the real secret of her success lay in that phenomenal tribute to Yankee ingenuity, the fashionable, well-made dress priced to sell at under $20. This, then, is a look at the dress that did for fashion what Henry Ford's car did for transportation. Huddled together in the 18 square blocks of New York City known collectively as 7th Avenue are the several thousand dress houses that produce most of what the American woman wears. One of the larger and most successful is Sue Brett, a firm that has built a $16 million business on a reputation for good fabric, good fit, and good fashion, all for a very good price. The heart and head of the operation is Jack Baker, an energetic, voluntous fellow who leaves nothing to chance, a man with a distinct flair for fabric and style, as well as a keen instinct for what will sell. The Sue Brett dress begins in a morning conference of Baker and his 3 designers, and it begins with the fabric, often cotton. Women have worn it for at least 7,000 years. In the beginning, it was a precious fabric. The fiber was hand-harvested, hand-spun, and hand-woven, a slow and costly operation. But in the 18th century, with the invention of the gin and the powered loom and spinning machine, it became possible to mass-produce cotton fabrics relatively inexpensively, and in a short time it became the most widely used apparel cloth. In the 1930s, textile designers took a fresh look at cotton and came up with ways to give it still more luster, new bold textures and brilliant permanent colorings. And the Cinderella of the kitchen went high fashion. A revolution in American clothing was taking place. The 19th Amendment had given women new freedom. They held jobs, they traveled, they took up sports, and fashion had to be functional. Cotton could be as practical as it was beautiful. It could be made water-repellent, stain-proof, wrinkle-resistant. It could even be made to stretch. The designers at Sue Brett sketch and discard hundreds of ideas in the process of designing a new collection. Only the best are then translated into muslin. A little more than 100 years ago, the whole idea of going into a store and buying a ready-made dress off a rack would have been inconceivable. In the first place, there was no such thing as standard dress sizes. Clothes were simply custom sewn to fit a particular person. But when the Civil War broke out and the government needed uniforms for its soldiers quickly and in quantity, a system of standard measurements to which uniforms could be cut was devised. After the war, the idea was adapted to civilian clothing for women as well as men. Today, size grading is an exact science, The subtlest figure variations can be fitted in a range of Mrs. sizes, junior sizes, petites, or half sizes. With the invention of the rotary cutting knife in 1895, the mass-produced ready-made dress became feasible. Now layers of cloth could be cut at one time, and the pattern pieces for 100 dresses cut in the time it had once taken to cut one. Less fabric was wasted when the pattern pieces were carefully and economically arranged on the length of cloth. All of this meant the per-dress cost was lower. By the turn of the century, the stage was set. Elias Howe had invented the sewing machine 50 years earlier, and ready-made blouses and skirts were already appearing in stores. In 1908, some enterprising fellow sewed a blouse to a skirt, and the ready-to-wear dress was born. It was a technological triumph, but it wasn't fashion. Paris was still the fashion capital, and any woman worth her weight in Paris labels wouldn't have been caught dead in a store-bought dress. But when the First World War temporarily cut off the supply of French originals, America turned to its native designing talents, and a distinctive American fashion look began to emerge. By the late 1920s, ready-to-wear had become fashionably acceptable. Now working girls and society matrons rubbed elbows at department store dress racks. Twice a year, Sue Brett designs a brand new collection of dresses. And twice a year, buyers for department stores and shops converge on New York to stock their racks with the things they think the American woman will buy. A full season ahead, the fashion magazines and newspapers are preparing her for the things to come. A new silhouette, perhaps, a new color, a new fabric. Since the days of Godey's Ladies book, fashion editors have been selling her on the idea of new clothes, better clothes, more clothes. They've taught her what to wear and how to wear it. But despite the cry of some, editors cannot make fashion, for fashion changes are never arbitrary, but rather reflect the temper of the times. Not even the government could suppress the hobble skirt when it was felt the reduction in skirt fabrics would hurt the national economy. Like the weather, the only thing certain in fashion is that it will change. But a few years ago, Sue Brett decided to put in computers and approach the matter scientifically. Although Lloyd's of London holds that it and horse racing are the only unpredictable things in the world, there is about fashion a sort of predictable unpredictability. And while no one expects a mere machine to forecast next season's new look, the computers can give general directions in color and style. And scanning initial orders, they tell Sue Brett how many dresses to cut and in what colors, thus increasing efficiency and preventing costly mistakes. So, the dress that began as an idea in a conference 6 months ago is now a reality. American know-how and nature's cotton have helped to make it possible. A small miracle that's a steal at $20.
So this is a fascinating film. knowing that to mass produce, then you have to standardize sizing. And then you think about recently, probably within the last 20 years, the politics of sizing, how a woman's size for one label is different than for another label, which is different from one type of piece of clothing to another piece of clothing, to where it's almost impossible to gauge what size you are, because it keeps changing and the cuts keep changing, and decisions that are made, on how pants are going to be. Like me shopping for jeans has always been a problem, because the current trend in jeans is not one that I like, that I feel is comfortable. And so I have to work really hard to try to find jeans that are comfortable for me, for my middle-aged shape, but also just that they keep changing what it is, and how it feels and all that stuff. And it's like, why do I wear pants that still have holes in them? Because they feel good, whereas new pants don't feel good. So there you go. This next film answers a question which many of us have, which is why Willie was willing to wash. It's an older film. I'm thinking from the 40s. It doesn't have the title, and it's shrunk a little bit, so you'll see that the image kind of does like this. But it's still fascinating to watch. So, and I guess based 2 days ago, I showed a hygiene film from the 70s, 80s. People were freaking out because of animated germs. This also has animated germs in it, so get ready.
Poor Willie. He never gets invited to parties. Little wonder, though. Just look at Willie's face. He simply hasn't learned that if you want people to like and respect you, you have to keep clean. Soap and water used frequently go a long way to make friends. Maybe it would be a good idea, while Willie is lying there sleeping, to tell him of several other reasons why it pays to keep clean. In business, too, cleanliness helps. Someday, Willie, you will want to apply for a job. He's looking you over, Willie, and what does he see? Those dirty hands are giving him something to think about. He is wondering how it would be if you were actually working for him. Just look at those fingerprints. This will never do. Not so good. Nothing doing, Willie, and you cannot blame him for not giving you the job. He figures that a boy who does not keep himself clean will not take good care of the property of others. It isn't only what others may think of you. You don't realize how being clean makes you feel so much better and gives you that self-respect which leads to success. Hers is the spirit that does things in this world. Your skin also demands cleanliness if it is to be attractive and healthy. Surrounding each hair of your skin is an oil gland in which fat cells develop and are pushed out to form the natural oil of the skin. But if dirt clogs up the hair openings, the fat cells must back up and pimples are formed. Now you see why a skin to be healthy must first of all be clean. But I haven't yet told you the most important reason of all for keeping clean. That reason is to help protect you against the germs of disease. Certain diseases are called communicable, which means that one person can catch them from somebody else. You know, like measles, scarlet fever, and whooping cough. These sicknesses are caused by little things so small we cannot see them with the naked eye. We call these things germs. They can be seen through a microscope, which makes them look many times larger than they really are. Many of the things we touch each day may have the germs of disease left on them by the hands of people who are or have been sick. Germs are like hitchhikers, stealing rides on the things we eat, drink, and touch. Their best way of getting into our bodies is through the mouth and nose. That is the area we must safeguard. We can help do this by being sure that everything which touches or enters the mouth and nose is perfectly clean. And by keeping pencils, our fingers, and other objects away from the mouth and nose. Those hands are all ready to give some germs a ride into somebody's mouth. No wonder Mother says, get into the bathroom. No hitchhiking germs on those hands now. Given proper conditions, germs thrive on dirt. Soap and water used vigorously will wash them away. I don't say you shouldn't get dirty. When a boy plays freely, as he should, he cannot always keep clean. In fact, it is often the dirt we cannot see which is really most dangerous. We cannot avoid dirt. What we can do for our protection is to get into the habit of cleaning up, particularly after play, after going to the toilet, and before eating. Cleanliness makes people like and respect you, helps you in business, gives you a feeling of alertness and self-respect, helps protect the health of your skin, helps guard you against the germs of disease. It looks like Willie has really learned something while he slept. friends for life. Just look Billy now. Not only does he look like a new boy, but he feels like one too.
Such a great film, and people pointed out it's kind of timely. Talking about keeping things away from your mouth and your nose and your eyes. This next film is about your amazing mind. Or is it? Is it just about drugs? You decide.
George Washington rode a horse when he traveled from Mount Vernon to Philip to preside at the convention where our Constitution was written. But all the materials to build a hard automobile in which he could have driven to Philadelphia in comfort were here on Earth at the time. Yes, all the elements, all the metals and materials needed to manufacture cars have been on Earth since the beginning. All that was missing was a series of ideas. Ideas on the magic screens of human imaginations. Ideas that led to the development of the internal combustion engine and the automobile. Nothing new has been added to the Earth since the beginning of time, except ideas from man's amazing mind. Ideas have given us all the wonders we so often take for granted. The human mind is the world's single greatest resource. Think of what minds are creating every day. Engineers and designers develop creative ideas in their minds long before they appear on the skyline. A man sees a barren desert, and his mind creates an idea for bringing water to dry earth that grows food for millions of people. An idea transformed coal, air, and water into synthetic fibers for making modern fabrics. Life-saving advances in medicine were first ideas in someone's amazing mind. Amazing minds even thought of a way to take man beyond the limits of the Earth. But this kind of creative effort is only one function of the mind. Our mind also registers what we hear, what we see, what we smell, taste, and feel. It coordinates our muscles and the way our body works. Our minds must also organize our lives and make the plans for daily living. Everything you do, every decision you make, takes place in the brain. Yes, our minds are our most important resource, the key to our future and to our happiness. Only with clear thinking in an unclouded and undistorted brain can life be better and more rewarding. Unfortunately, the mind can easily be upset. It can easily be disturbed and twisted. It may seem unbelievable, but there are some people who disturb and twist their minds on purpose. They do it with substances that are swallowed or smoked or even injected into the bloodstream. People use such substances because they have been told they can expect a pleasant feeling, a kick. For some, drugs seem to bring a pleasant feeling at first. But drugs can upset the normal process of the whole body. They can be very dangerous. There are many kinds of drugs, and they have important medical uses. They are made not only to cure sickness, but in some cases they also help our bodies to function better. But because drugs can be very dangerous if misused, they should be prescribed only by a doctor, and his instructions should be carefully followed. Some pills, called amphetamines, are stimulants. They are sometimes called uppers by illegal users because they make the brain work faster. They should be used only in special medical situations. Barbiturates are depressants because they slow down the mind. Illegal users call them downers. Doctors prescribe them for nervous conditions or as sleeping pills. But strangely, some people get kicks from them. So-called speed or mephedrine can easily produce a frightening mental state quite rapidly. The heart may beat unevenly, muscles twitch, and the user becomes tense and extremely nervous. His mind ceases to function normally. Many have died from using speed. Any drug, wrongly used, can change the way your mind works and keep you from thinking clearly. They can make you very sick. They can even kill you. Glue sniffing starts with the sniffer looking for kicks, but inhaling these fumes soon leads to a sick feeling, dizziness, and mental upset. The fumes are poisonous. They can seriously damage the brain, the blood, and the liver, and have been known to cause death. Then there are those who sniff the fumes of hairspray, insecticides, or anything in an aerosol can. They not only risk damage to body and mind, but death as well. Some people smoke marijuana because it makes them feel dreamy. But it can also make you see things differently than they really are. One of its effects on the mind is to change normal reactions. For instance, marijuana makes it very dangerous to drive a car because it changes the sense of distance and speed. Things going this fast seem to be going much slower. LSD was at first thought to offer a cure for mental disorders because it brings on the symptoms of insanity. Here is what Dr. J. Thomas Ungerleider of the UCLA Medical Center says about LSD.
LSD has no proven use in medicine. Repeated use of LSD may permanently alter the brain's function. In fact, many people, after using LSD, have had to be placed in mental institutions because they've become mentally ill. LSD also changes the cell structure of certain cells within the body, probably permanently, and thus may affect your unborn children.
The effects of LSD are completely unpredictable. Some users think that they are having a good trip when familiar objects seem to take on a special beauty. Any trip is a bad trip when your amazing mind isn't thinking clearly.
Emergency. Calling Dr. Roberts. Emergency.
Some users of LSD have reported terrifying experiences.
Calling Dr. Roberts. Emergency. Calling Dr. Roberts.
There have been several reports of LSD users who actually thought they could fly. Drugs and narcotics are so dangerous that there are strict regulations against their use. Many drug users go on to stronger and stronger drugs, looking for bigger kicks. Many drugs will affect not only your mind, but also your body, because they are habit-forming. The body begins to depend on these drugs. The user gets so that he must have them. Without them, he will become very sick.
Okay, well, drugs are against the law, and they wouldn't be against the law unless there was a reason, and it's because they're harmful.
You can get hooked on them, and who wants to get hooked on them?
I think that all trips are bad trips because they bend your mind, and who wants to bend their mind?
Why would anybody want to take drugs and really mess up their mind?
I think the kind of people that use drugs are the kind of people who can't make it on their own. And when they try to do this, they try to get away from their problems, and they just end up with a whole bunch of new ones.
When you're on drugs, you don't know really what you're doing, and you miss a lot of fun.
Some kids think they're really having fun on drugs, but they aren't enjoying life to the fullest because part of their mind isn't working.
It takes more guts to say no to drugs than it does to say yes.
If I had to take pills to be part of a gang, I wouldn't want to be in that gang. I have more fun without the pills.
Why take something that's going to mess up your mind? It's ridiculous to me, because why would you need such a thing if you have friends and a good life? Why take a chance on anything that clouds up your mind?
Do you want this or this? Why take a chance with anything that can keep you from enjoying your life to the fullest? The choice is yours. Why take a chance with anything that might hurt your most valuable possession? Your amazing mind. Why?
Your amazing mind. Yeah, I always forget how it begins, this film. And when I see the footage of George Washington riding a horse to Philadelphia, I'm always like, oh crap, it's the wrong film. And I'm like scrambling. So what a strange way to start. It's like, yeah, we want to dress up somebody as George Washington and have them on a horse. Then we're going to put him in a convertible and have him driving to Philadelphia. And it's such a strange thing. Anyways, this is a wonderful film also because at the end it has all of the teenagers, your peers, talking about how drugs are dumb. And somebody pointed out in the comments that, with these drug education programs, it's a balance. And, well, it's anytime that you talk about using drugs and talk about the types of things that you can use drugs, you're introducing concepts to teenagers like, oh, I can use that to get high. Or, oh, that's interesting, I can experiment with that. So you're almost kind of promoting these drugs and these substances to some teenagers who are bored and are looking for a thrill. Thanks everybody for joining me today. It means a lot. Also, thanks for bearing with me. I was a little late because of a doctor's televisit, ran a little long. But we'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock and we'll watch some more films. It's fascinating. Somebody was watching on YouTube and was a new person, kind of knew the genre, but was utterly confused by the randomness of it, of what I was showing and why I was showing it. I have done theme shows in the past, but this just felt, I like to kind of pull from different things and kind of bounce us around. I feel like it keeps my brain engaged and hopefully it keeps you guys engaged. So I'm apologizing, but not really apologizing for the randomness of what I'm showing. It just, it's very similar to when I would have screenings at my house and I would pull a bunch of films and we would just sit around and watch things. This has an exact same feel, like you're in the basement with me hanging out and we're making ludicrous comments and we're eating and drinking and just goofing off. So I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me and your eyeballs and your comments. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe because that seems to be important. Patreon, there's a place to actually give us money to buy more stuff and to pay for some shipping. We just got this week, how many films? Probably 70 films of people who are now going through their closets and cleaning out stuff and saying that we don't need these anymore. I need to find a place to send them. And then, of course, avgeeks.com. There's lots of stuff online there and places to buy DVDs, etc. So thank you so much again. I will see you again tomorrow. Everybody have a good rest of the day. Take care.